Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. You're probably wondering why I'm staying outside of a building. Today is a special type of interview. We'll actually be interviewing Stacy Ashton. She actually owns this building on 107 William Street in North Hampton, Massachusetts. Let's go meet her.
Hey, come on in. Let me give you a tour. So this is the kitchen. We've got an open concept design. The veranda's, of course, looking outside. Everybody's got an outdoor space. Got a nice little sitting room here so that you have a lot of nice light so you can just see what's going on outside and it lets the sun shine in. We've got a little sitting area here, a little dining nook so you can enjoy some meals with some friends. This room that we're gonna go into right now could be considered a bedroom, but it also could be like an office or a little den, something to have a getaway if you want to just relax in here. And then we're gonna come on over here. Got a nice bathroom, very luxurious. So what you're seeing is a walk-in shower with the tile surround, nice vanities, quartz countertops, all the bells and whistles for everyone. And then our primary is here, spacious. We got room for a TV on the wall, nice lighting again, tall ceilings, energy efficient. All the fits and finishes are top notch.
During a high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO. Thank you for that amazing tour. All the rooms that you showed me in this unit, I'm like, wow, this is a really nice unit. So I can see that you definitely put in a lot of effort to make sure that the unit felt very comfortable, affordable, I can tell, and it's like a really good quality. I just can't even imagine like the amount of effort and thought process that you put behind the way that you, even to the point where you're like, each unit has its own look to it. That means that you really care about the tenants that are living in your spaces. So I just want to thank you for that tour.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. And thanks for the compliment. I worked really hard on this.
I can tell. That's why I just had to let you know. Cause like I've seen house tours and unit tours before, and like they all look similar. So for you to think and go above and beyond to the point where you're like, okay, I want each and every unit to have a different feel, means that you really do care about how your units in the way it makes other people feel when they're living inside of it.
I do. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
For the first question of that is, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in yourself?
So what I do is I'm actually a real estate broker. So I own my own business and I operate it with about 8 agents, full-time agents. And I myself, as the broker, I am a selling agent as well, but I also hold a CSL license in the world of contracting. So I'm somewhat involved in the building world. I've been involved with builders throughout my career over the last almost 20 years doing this. So I've learned a lot about it. And my family also is in the trades as well. So I already have that bug, and I'm also creative by nature. So just doing this was really exciting to me. I didn't do it on my own. I can't take the full credit. We did hire somebody outside of my own personal licensure because this is a commercial grade building. And the scope of this is so massive that it was above anything that I could do myself personally. But I had a hand in it, and I did all the designing, and I contributed to the layout. We did hire an architect for it as well, but I did contribute my opinions and thoughts because I do sell real estate on a daily basis to what I thought people would really want to see in their units. So that was it's great that I had that background to be able to get into this and be able to design or help design these in a way that makes people feel like they're right at home.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to how you got to where you are today?
Oh boy, so that's a long one. So I'll try to make it short and sweet and to the point. So yes, I did go to college. I went to community college. I started at HCC. And then from there, I went to AIC in Springfield International College, and I majored in criminal justice and forensic psychology. So I was in the criminal justice world. I worked in the jail with adjudicated delinquents for a couple years in the clinical world there, and then stepped out of that and ended up in marketing and advertising for the old school Yellow Pages. So it was sales, door, business to business, helping businesses grow with all the different variety of products, direct mail, online, Yellow Book, Yellow Pages, that sort of thing. And then I always really loved real estate when I was a kid. Like my mom would take me on Sundays and drive me around in the neighborhoods, and I look at all the houses and aspire and be like, I really want to live there someday. I can get there, Mom. And she was like, dream big, dream big. With that being said, I already had the bug for it. So when I was finishing up, when I was basically wanting to finish working at the Yellow Pages, I was like, I had taken the class in real estate and it was going to expire. And I said, you know what? I got to take this class and just do it. So then I took it. And then I jumped in, and the first sale that I did happened to be a commercial building, which was for my dad. So I took the proceeds from that, I quit my job cold turkey, and just went full time into the field.
So when you said you went to college for criminal justice, like that was your dream, you thought that's the career that you were going to take. How did you end up switching over to real estate?
I really wanted to do criminal justice because I was thinking I wanted to help. And I really liked working in the courts with the kids. And I was just like fascinated by that world. I still am today. Like I'm the girl that falls asleep to the ID channel. But aside from that, like I really wanted to do it. And I was thinking long-term benefits and, you know, health insurance and retirement and all of that stuff. But after I was in it for a little while, it's really, and I enjoy helping, I really do, but it's emotionally very, I'm not the kind of person that can just walk away after 5 o'clock. Like I really take everything to heart. And I do care a lot about the kids, and I still do. I think about them today. All in all, I feel like I'm really like a go-getter. I need to just be out on my own and not underneath like an umbrella of being told what to do every day, because I am such like a creative mind and a go-getter, and I want big things in life. So I just decided the right path for me after I left the corporate world was just to go into business for myself in a way that would make me happy. And I felt real estate would be it for that's where I left off, and that's where I've been ever since.
So you talked about you have family in this industry already. Did that play a role into you becoming part of this industry as well?
Yeah, my uncle's he's in the drywall business. I have electricians, I have plumbers. My grandfather was a builder. My uncle was a builder. So it's always been like in our blood. And I'm very just inquisitive and creative, and I'm very hands-on. So I like that aspect. And I was flipping houses with my dad for a few years prior to that, and flipping was great and all that, but things started getting costly and the numbers weren't really working. And then time versus money and coordinating and everything else, it just became something that I wasn't all that interested in doing anymore. So I felt like if I was going to do something, I wanted to actually build from the ground up. So about 2.5 years ago, I took it upon myself to go get my contractor supervised license non-restricted, so that if I wanted to excel my career to the next level, because I watch people do it all the time, work with builders, and I'm not saying like they're gazillionaires or anything like that, but I'm like, you know what? I enjoy doing this too. I want to learn about this, and I want to be able to do this too. So that's why I went for it.
So what was the process of getting your license? Like how much money did it cost, and what did you have to do to get the license?
So I was able to find a gentleman online who basically constructs a course. There's about 10 books I think I had to get through. And he basically helps us on a daily, helps me. It's one-on-one. You sign up for it individually. And one-on-one, he goes through like the books with you, shows you, it's an open book test. So you got to know how to navigate the books and find the right answers. So pinning the books and taking quizzes every single day. I basically stuck my head in the book every day for 8, 9, 10 hours for probably a good 6 weeks. It costs probably about a couple $1,000s and a lot of time and an investment that way just to get in there. And then you have to pay for the license and whatnot, but it was worth it. And I still hold the license, and I'm happy to hold it. And I'm proud that I did it. I sometimes go back and reflect and like, how do you do that? Like, how does that even happen? But you just, when you're in it and you have the tunnel vision to do something, you just go right at it.
So for you, what was about real estate that you really got into? You talked about how you wanted to own your own business. You had a family in this industry already, but what was it for you that really made you want to take this career path?
In real estate?
Yeah.
So I just came from a sales background in general, and I enjoyed being out in that world. In sales, I did find that I liked it a lot. And why not sell something that you really love? And right, houses. So I'm like, the life in terms of sales is, if you have something that you really love and you're confident in it, you can sell it to anybody, right? But houses you can't sell a house, right? So you just have to be a good problem solver, which I am. I think I'm a great problem solver. And a lot of times people don't know what they need until you bring it to them. So being a problem solver, knowing what's out there, being able to network and have a good understanding of the towns and what's around you really helps put the pieces together. And I like that. I enjoy that.
So for you talk about problem solving, you like helping people. Where did that nature of you liking to help people and becoming a problem solver really, where did you get that skills from?
I don't know. I think something like that just comes from within. I think I'm a caring person. I just have that innately in myself, and I'm driven. So I feel like all those personality traits combined with the smarts to do it allow me to be good at something I actually enjoy doing. It doesn't feel like work if you like it, right?
Yeah. So for you, when it comes to building your houses or condos, whatever it is that you're building, what kind of is like your vision and how do you go about building them?
So this vision here was actually not this to begin with. So it was a small little bungalow, about an 800 or 900 square foot bungalow that was here. And when it was on the market, it was high in price tag. So I said, oh geez. I said to my partner at the time, we met 14 years ago, my partner and I, and he says, what do you think? I said, we could maybe flip the house, or I don't really know, maybe knock it down, build something. I didn't know at that time. I just said, we got to have it. So he said, okay, let's put an offer in. So we put an offer in. And during the time that we had the offer in, I noticed the zoning and what that was. I wasn't too sure about. So I ended up making the call to the town, spoke to somebody at the town, and she had said to me, the zoning means condos. You can do 4 of these larger scale condos, or you can do what's called half units. Half units are basically a new concept brought to the town. So nobody's done this yet. This is the first building that's being brought here as a half unit. And they're not even per se half units, but they're smaller than what's typically out there. A lot of the units that are condos in North Hampton are generally like 1,500 square feet and up, and they run anywhere from 650,000 up to 850,000. So how can we bring affordable into the marketplace? So if somebody doesn't want to spend $850, or maybe they don't want to buy something that's $350,000 that needs $100,000 worth of work, but they want to live in more of a building that's community, because this is all these units are attached. So I feel like the people who are going to live here are going to be like a little community, and it's proximity to town. You have all the restaurants, you have all the amenities, the schools, the diversity, the arts, which brings people here to the area from all walks of life. I felt like that was the best thing to do. Once we figured out what we could do, we said, let's just go for the 8 half units and make the most sense out of it.
When you first got into real estate, what was like your biggest struggle or biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
So the biggest challenge in real estate, I think the biggest misconception would be that it's an easy job. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to get my license and I'm going to show all these fabulous houses, and, you know, a big pile of money is going to fall from the sky and it's going to be so easy. But in reality, I was just saying this to somebody yesterday, like this career and job, I would call it more of a career, is probably one of the most difficult sales jobs and careers that you can get into in general. There's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice that goes into doing this. When I first started this job, I was 24/7 in like my MLS, which is our multiple listing system where all the houses were. Like I was constantly learning about things that even in areas where I grew up my whole life that I wasn't even aware of. I'm like, wait a minute. So people ask those questions, you got to know them. So there was that aspect of it, and finding clients. Like when I first built this business, anybody I knew did not do business with. Like I built my whole business on strangers. So I did a lot of like online marketing and advertising because I had come from that, right, from my Yellow Page career. So I basically took what I knew there and implemented it into this and just did a lot of marketing and built a business from there.
So you use your background of already working in sales and kind of use that to your advantage to becoming a successful and known in this industry as well. So what were some of the biggest skills that you were able to take from your original career and bring it over to where you are today?
So when I was in college, a lot of that is psychology. So you have to know people and you have to understand them to know how to work with them. Because in real estate, it's very emotional. There's so many different aspects that come into somebody's life that bring them into it's not just buying a home. People are moving across the country. They have deaths, they have divorces. There's all these different scenarios that play into where somebody needs to live. So you need to understand that. You need to have some empathy with that. You need to know the process of how to get somebody from point A to point B. So the psychology in that is a big thing. So I'm not ungrateful that I went to school and spent the time doing that because it has helped me. And then in terms of the marketing and advertising, and you have to know how to get your name out there and become a brand so that people will know who you are and they'll want to call you because they know you're the expert. So marrying those two things together, working and learning how to walk the beat and know how to engage a client or a potential client, and then know how to understand them and marry those two together, ultimately has helped me become successful in this career.
So for you, what were some ways that you were able to get people to want to buy the houses that you were trying to sell them?
So as I previously stated, like in working with somebody, you got to know where they want to be, right? So you got to hunt. You're on the hunt constantly, and you have to network. So you have to have good relationships with other agents in the community because number one, if you do a good job and you're respectful, they'll want to work with you, and they know also you're an expert in the field. So they don't have to babysit you in your positioning when you're working with your client. They know that you're bringing a buyer to the table that is ready, willing, and able, and they're going to close. So those are big things in working with all the agents around the area in general and knowing how to bring that to the table in reference to what I have learned in my life is that people they don't necessarily know what they want. So they might say they want something, but it's up to me, the professional, to say, introduce things to them that maybe they didn't know about. Say, hey, let's take a look at this. There's been plenty of times I've done that. They're like, maybe not. But we walk in there, I'm like, I love it. So they end up buying that property. But again, like I don't have any control over saying, this is what you need or you have to have. It's a feeling when somebody comes through the door. They have to imagine themselves living there. They have to want to live there. And the house is a piece of the puzzle, but it's where it's at is where the big thing is. You have to know your locations, your proximities, what does the client need, what do they want, all of those things together, because you can fix anything in a house. You can change the kitchen cabinet, you can change the floor, you can paint the walls, but you can't change where it is. So ultimately, if most of what somebody wants, you can bring them to that spot, they might love it.
So when you're working with people, are you normally working with first-time home buyers? And what are the differences you notice between the first-time owners versus the people that already have owned houses in the past?
Good question. First-time home buyers, it's a different process. You have to explain more of the things to them because they don't quite know what they're getting into. A lot of people think it's just search, find, buy, right? It's not that simple. There's steps to the process. You have to get pre-approved, right? You have to understand your payment so you know what you're paying for and how much that's going to cost you every month along with your utility cost. You have to basically know what you want in a house. Where do you want to be? There's different processes to get to that point. So explaining, we have pamphlets and a lot of literature, and we do provide buyer consults for potential buyers, and we do Zoom calls, however is convenient to them, and we tell them, this is the process. We'll take you through one step at a time so that you're not overwhelmed. If you haven't been through the process before, you're going to be like, what's going on? This is crazy. I'm done. It's easy to get overwhelmed because there's a lot to it. And the process is very competitive with the inventory being so low these days that people get discouraged very quickly because they have to pay a lot of money and it's expensive. And then working with a seasoned buyer it's not always easier because they've been through it. They already know what to expect. So they understand market trends. They understand what they want to pay, which is great. We love that. And sometimes it can be more than what we bargained for, but other times it can be really great. So it all depends on the person.
So for you, what have you realized, like when it comes to working with people, that makes it an easier client versus a rather more harder, not harder, but like a lot more time consuming client?
I think in terms of time, when it comes to people searching, sometimes the client thinks there's the perfect house and then they lose that chance of a perfect house. Like, there doesn't necessarily mean there's a perfect house. There's something that's close to it. So if somebody gets their heart really set on having the perfect house that doesn't necessarily exist, that process can take a lot of time because somebody is hunting for something that may not be out there. We call those things unicorns. You got to have a realistic expectation when you're looking for a house because it's not ever going to be perfect. It might be close, but it's not going to be perfect.
You having the sales background, you're still selling. You say you love sales. How have you been able to become a great salesperson?
In my personal opinion, I would say that mostly people buy from people that they like. You're always going to find somebody that may or may not necessarily relate to you. And for me, I always tell my agents that work with me, it's okay if you're not jiving with someone. it happens. You got to know when to hold and you got to know when to fold. So sometimes not everybody's a perfect match, and that's okay. And I would just say, hey, maybe you work with this person. That's a better fit for you. But a lot of times I think being relatable with somebody and knowing your craft is really what makes people want to work with you. They like energy. They feed off of your energy. They want to know that you're like paying attention to them. They want to know that you're looking out for their best interests. So as long as you can communicate those things and show that your client that you are basically interested in what they need, which, because that's what I do, they find it to be, they love it. They want to continue to work with me. They want to stay in touch with me after. They invite me to their houses. They share emails with me about their family or their friends or what they're doing. They invite me to events sometimes. So just the relationship building, I think, is a huge thing when you're working with people, especially in sales.
So for you, when it comes to sales and building relationships, what would that look like?
I think just being a person, being relatable, not so salesy when you speak to someone, because people can pick up on that, right? Like you and I, we're having a fluid conversation. I could be selling you. You don't even know what I'm selling you on right now, but you know that, hey, I like her. She's a cool person. Like I could hang out with her and we could jive and find something that suits me for what I'm looking for if she's an expert in that. Because a lot of times you can be friendly and you can be smart, but it doesn't mean that you know exactly what you're doing. So you have to be an expert in understanding what you have and what the client needs and marry those two together. So
you said you have to be a person, but you also have to be great in whatever it is that the sale makes sense. So
master of your craft.
Yes. So for you, how are you able to master the craft of being able to be great at sales, but also be great to the point where you're able to build a relationship to the point where people are like, okay, I want to work with her?
So I think life experience is one thing, of course. And I think obviously appreciating what you know in the field that you're in and growing from it. Like for me personally, I always want to grow and I always want to learn more. So I'm doing continuing education classes. I'm getting my designations. We're doing our CEUs like we always do. And I tell my agents all the time, I'm like, you do this. Like I'm still doing it almost 20 years later. You should be doing this stuff now because it's only going to help you here and help your clients out there. And as long as you can do that and you keep growing with education, because this field does change. It's not just like the same 30, 40 years ago. People weren't selling real estate the same way that they are today. Now we have social media, we have online, we have all these different aspects to sell real estate that didn't even exist 10 plus years ago that are existing now. So staying up on the trends, being in the know, and being educated and being out there in front of people is really going to get you further ahead in this career or in any career, to be honest.
What is a CEU?
So it's a continuing education credit. So basically, as to have a license in almost any field in Massachusetts, right? So if I'm a builder, I need to get X amount of credits. And if I'm a real estate agent, I have to get X amount of credits too. It's like almost like a college class. So you take a certain class, you get 3 credits. You take another class, you get 3 credits. And so you have to build on that. Every 2 years, there's a requirement that you have to do, I believe it's 12 CEUs, and then you have to do an ethics class on top of that. So ethics has to do with how you operate your business. They don't want you being shady. They want you operating with integrity. And being a member of the Realtor Board of Associations as well, you hold that stature, which basically holds you to an ethical standard that you have to practice in everybody's best interest, not your own. Because some people do that. They're just here for the quick sale and they don't think about it because it's not their career. Like I never think about myself in anything that I do. I think about my client first, and then I'm just a part to that after. Having them get what they want and having them be excited about that is ultimately what feeds my soul. So I think that's the biggest thing too. Can't be selfish in sales. If you're selfish in sales, you're not going to go anywhere fast. You're going to be done.
So what have you noticed between the difference between somebody that is selfish rather than somebody that's there to actually try to help the person that they're selling to?
They don't last. That's the proof in the pudding right there. You're not going to make it if you only care about yourself in anything in life. You've got to really feed your soul and fuel your soul with something that you love, which exudes out to the person that you're working with. And they can sense that. Somebody knows when you're not interested in them or when you're just acting in your own best interest. I always put my client's interest first. I don't care about myself at all. I'm like, let me make sure that you're good. Because at the end of the day, if you're not good, that reflects poorly on me. And then how am I going to have a business if I have a bunch of people who hate me? It's not going to work. So we need positive reviews. We need good experience with customers so that later they refer their friends and family to me. And that's what I always tell them. I want your business, but more importantly, I want your friends and your family's business. So I want you to say, I had a great real estate agent. I had a great experience with my broker. Call her, she'll help you out. And that's ultimately what builds the business.
So for you, when you're talking about saying, I want your business, but I also want your friends and family business, what does that mean for you? And what are you doing to make sure that happens?
Positive experiences, of course, and staying in touch with my clients. Like I always have, we do follow-ups with them, sometimes client appreciations. We invite them to events. I sold out a Star Wars theater once for Christmas time, brought everybody in, said, hey, come on and see the new Star Wars movie. We had a bunch of swag we handed out. Everybody loved it. I've done client appreciations down at the Smithsonian in Holyoke, have big barbecues for people. I send out postcards every holiday, happy anniversary, just staying in touch. Sometimes I'll drive by a client's house and say, hey, I just thought of you. And then they're like, hey, I think that's important to have that in touch and that personal touch with your clients so that they know you care, because I do genuinely like my clients. Like, I work with a lot of different attorneys. They always say, Stacy, you have such great clients. I said, I know, it's amazing. Like they just will gravitate, like people gravitate towards certain people when they fit the vibe. And I feel like my clients with me, like we vibrate. So they enjoy working with me and I enjoy working with them.
So are you, when it comes to picking the clients, are you just taking anybody, or are you finding people that are like, okay, this is this person that I can work well with?
Yeah, so I do a lot of internet marketing and I also have a lot of referrals, right? So when the phone rings for the internet, I talk to those clients, I feed them out, I will meet with them. Sometimes they're only looking at one house and you never see them again. And then maybe they call me 10 years later and say, hey, Stace, and I've had that happen to me before a couple times. Sometimes you don't get the right feel and I'm like, maybe they'll call somebody else, or maybe I'm just not the right fit for them, or they're not the right fit for me. That's okay. I'd rather have somebody have a more pleasant experience with somebody that they're having a better experience with than work with me and then there's some sort of tension or we're not on the same page. And that's okay. I'm not for everybody and not everybody's for me. And I understand that, and that's okay.
So during those situations where you have a client, you realize that they're not a good fit, how do you like stop that like relationship without making it have a toxic ending to it?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people feel out on the energy. So I would just refer them out. And I've done that before. Hey, an agent that works with me, I think she can help you a little bit better. That's it. And they'll go, okay. And I'll just connect them there.
So for you, you talk about how you're always making sure that you're building personal relationships so that they feel more comfortable with you. So what are some ways that you have made it to the point where people feel a lot more comfortable? Because you said that, especially with the first time someone's buying a house, it's a lot of anxiety and a lot of energy. So how do you make people feel comfortable?
I don't actually know the answer to that question. I think it's who I am in general. I think I have a lot of information and I think I have a lot of experience. So people can know that and they sense it and they know that, hey, you know what? She does know what she's talking about. She's been through this before. She's worked with hundreds of clients and I feel comfortable with her. I think it's a feeling that you have to get with somebody that you're working with so that they want to work with you. Like people in general, they'll get a feeling. And if they feel right with you, they're going to say, okay. And if not, then on to the next.
What has been
Sales is a numbers game. Remember that.
Yeah, my dad tells me that all the time.
Yep, it's all a numbers game. And I learned that in corporate America. Like, how many people do you have to talk to? How many no's do you have to get before you get a yes? And you got to know that number. Once you know that number, you'll know what your success rate is.
What has been your biggest lesson that you have learned so far in your career?
A lot of it is patience, because this career does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of years to establish this. And maybe like other people, myself, I might have had a misconception going in. I also had the time to dedicate to it. Like I didn't have a lot of outside influences distracting me. So I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. So I was able to just tunnel vision, focus. So that I think had a big play in what I had to do. And it takes years to do this. This isn't something that you can just overnight become a sensation. It's not like you put out a one-hit wonder and then boom, everybody loves you overnight. This is like a lot of grind and a lot of hard work that kind of comes into play. So it can take anywhere from, I say 4 to 7 years to build a really good base of a business where you can get your referrals coming in and where you build your knowledge and your expertise to become the master of your craft.
So when you first started, you were still working your other job plus this. So how are you able to balance your time to make sure that your career in real estate is gonna be able to go to where you will like it and where you are today to the point where, but you also have to make sure that you're doing great on your other job as well.
I know. So I don't exactly know how I did that. It's hard because sometimes I go back and I think about things that I've done and I'm like, how did you accomplish all that? I think like focus is a big thing. So for me, I am a person who always wants to do great at whatever I can. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, but I never want to fail at anything that I do. So no matter what, if I have to focus a lot of energy here and a lot of energy there, then that's what I'm going to do. But I gave my all to my corporate job. So I knew how to do that and do it well. So I figured that out after a certain point, what I had to do. But then once I got to the point, I was fortunate enough, like I said, my dad had his commercial business and that was my first sale. And I think it was like $1.3 million. So originally he had it for sale by owner. And I was like, what is this guy doing? I'm his daughter. He's not going to give me the building? Like what? But he was telling me he was getting fed up with it. A lot of tire kickers, a lot of this, a lot of that. And I said, Dad, I'm getting my license and I'm going to sell that building. He's, oh, no kidding, Stace. I get it. Of course you're going to sell it if that's the case. I'm not going to give it to anybody else. So luckily, and like I said, it was fortunate in that when I got to sell his building, which again, I was working and then I would show the building and I was working. And when I was out in the field, I had some flexibility there too. So if I had to do a showing, I could be on the road and I could just over there and handle it. But once the building sold, I took all that money, which, was a decent amount. It wasn't a huge amount, but I put it into my bank account and I said, you know what? If you're going to do it, it's now or never. Just jump right in. You don't want to be here anymore. This is what you really want to do. So just go at it. Failure is not an option. Just dive in and give it your all and you'll succeed. You'll be fine. So that's what I did. And then here I am today.
I just have a couple more questions for you. One of them is, in the book, we talk about the LBW, the long, lonely, boring work. Can you tell us about the LBW that you have to do in your career?
Real estate is a lot of paperwork, but there's a lot of, I would say, cooks in the kitchen. So there's a lot of different parties that come to making like one transaction work. So it's not just me. I'm not a part of this. We have appraisers. We have loan officers. We have contractors sometimes that we need. We have other brokers involved. There's a whole slew of people that are involved in making one transaction work. So for the long, boring work, I would say that this job is not boring at all. There's always something and it's always different. So that's what I find exciting about it, to be honest, is like, there's not one transaction that's ever going to be the same. But I would say the boring stuff is the paperwork. But you got to be good at it because you can't make a mistake. Because if it's in writing, that means it's real. So you have to be very diligent and you have to be detail oriented as well.
All right, let's talk about the paperwork part. So you said that you enjoy your job. So there's really no boring part besides the paperwork. You said you have to make sure that it's on point because whatever is on paper, whatever you sign, that's what it is. So for you, what is that process looking like?
A mess. The paperwork was a lot back in, especially before we started having everything electronic. There's various amounts of different forms and copious amounts of paperwork that goes into writing an offer and addendums and making sure it's right. And sometimes we have extensions for mortgage commitments and inspection requests that need to be written up properly. So it can be a lot, but I think pieced together a little bit at a time is doable. And ironically, like you can get sucked into doing this job like for hours at a time. You're just like, get into it. It's weird, but like I don't love it, but I'm like, oh, ugh. So I start doing it and I get into it. I want to make sure it's right. I think that's the schooling in me. Like, because when I got my degree, I was very in my book, like bookwormy, and all my papers were just and all of that. So I think all of those things have really helped me do what I do and do it well. And now I have an assistant, so she does it, but I double check everything. So it's part of the control in me, but we get there.
I just have one more question. And what's one fun fact about yourself?
One fun fact about me. I'm a cat lady. Through and through. I'm like obsessed with my cats. And they're at my house and I have 2 Bengals and I live and breathe for them. So I would say that's probably not something that people would really expect from me, but they're literally like my everything. And I think they're like my children. I'm very obsessed with them.
Funny story about cats. About before 8 months ago, my dog Biscuit, he was barking in the back. And my parents found out that there was cats in the backyard.
Yep.
And personally, before these cats, that we ended up bringing them in because like they needed it. We ended up fostering them somehow.
Yeah.
we still have them. It's just about there's 6 cats of mom and 5 babies.
Yeah.
And before them, I hated cats, but now I can't. Now I love
You're
cats.
obsessed with them, right?
I can't say nothing bad about cats anymore.
I love animals in general, but cats are my favorite. And I would say if I won the lottery, there would be signs. I'd probably be like in a field with all the animals because I love animals. Back when I was a kid, before I started anything, I was like 7 or 8. I used to tell my mom I wanted to be a veterinarian. She told me, what are you going to do if you have to put them down? I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And then that became the end of that. But I always had a true love for animals. So I would say that's a fun fact about me.
I think that's funny. I wanted to be a vet when I was young.
Did you?
Yeah.
See? There it is. Animals are, like, I think such a huge, like, important part of somebody's life if they want them to be. There's nothing more comforting to me than coming home and my cats run to the door and I had a long day or they're just on my lap and I feel at peace. And I think that's important to have something that makes you feel at peace. And in my house, my animals make me feel at peace. My husband too, but my animals as well.
I just want to thank you again for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I want to thank you for being a community reinvestment partner as well. So I appreciate both of those things that you've done for me.
I love what you're doing. I support that 100%. And I'd love to see young people like yourself succeed. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you. And thank you for all the support that you have shown in the past year of my journey of becoming the realistic CEO. It really means a lot to me. Ways that you can support even more is by going on to my website, realisticceo.com, and ordering your copy of the Realistic CEO book. See you in the next episode. Peace.